thinking, okay, maybe I need to do a cleanse, right? A good gut cleanse may work for me, right? But you have to think about the fact that, yes, you will maybe say, for example, you take like a laxative or you do an enema or something and sort of get rid of a lot of that backed up, let's just say that backed up stool in your intestines, right? And just start afresh, right? But then you obviously, there's gonna be bacteria there still, there's always bacteria there, but if you're putting the same types of foods, you didn't make any change to how you eat, right, to the type of foods that you eat, then it's gonna be back to square one in less than no time, right? So don't think about a gut cleanse. I've never had a gut cleanse in my life, to be honest, right? But even if you have a lot of maybe bad types of bacteria, if you start looking at the foods that you're eating, right, and a lot of people really don't get enough fiber, maybe 10 grams of fiber. I think, what's the average amount of fiber consumption in America? I think it's like 10 grams, and we need like 25 30 grams of fiber, or even more than that. I should have looked this up before I came on. But most people really hardly have the amount of fiber that they should have, right? So you need to have a lot of more, well, fruits to an extent, and certainly vegetables, right? Fiber rich vegetables. The closer to raw the better, because you're getting that good fiber. And what the fiber does is that it it bulks up, right, in the upper intestines. It makes everything all bulky, right? So you get full faster, right? Number one. Number two, it slows down the transit of the food down the intestines, and so you're going to, it's going to be slower, digestion and slow absorption of any sugar that you take in, that you do ingest, right? And so you have slow release of the sugar into the bloodstream, and so you don't have those high peaks of blood sugar, right? And then because it's more bulky, right, you have more of the food, more of the fiber, the food for the bacteria reaching down into the intestines, right? If you didn't have a lot of fiber and all you had was like super refined food, then all that just gets really rapidly digested in the stomach and the small intestines, and there's not much left to go down and feed the good bacteria in your intestines, right? And so that good bacteria low down in the intestines gets no food, and so they just die out. They do not thrive. And what is left is just whatever little, chemicals or like whatever artificial stuff in the food, and that's what's left that goes down into the intestines. And then because the bad bacteria here, they're like, give me anything, and so they're gonna eat that, and so they're gonna just thrive, and then everything's gonna be off balance. And then if you happen to get some kind of bad infection, there's certain bad infections, especially in the hospital setting, that our patients can get. C. diff or Clostridium difficile is one, right? There's no good bacteria to crowd out those bad bugs, and so they thrive uninhibited, and then you can get infections and just be ill, right? So don't think about a gut cleanse per se, but just think about feeding your gut with proper food, real food, fiber rich food, right? Prebiotics. Fiber is prebiotics. It feeds the good bacteria, and then you automatically crowd out the bad bacteria. And then everything with time, this is ongoing. This is not like an overnight thing. Like ongoing, you have just a buildup of a better environment in the intestines, and over time it just improves, and then you can feel better. We know, of course, too, that imbalances in the gut, flora, as we say, it makes it sound like plants and flowers, but imbalances in the gut bacteria can actually promote weight gain, right? And that is as evidenced by fecal transplants for that same C. diff infection I mentioned. For people who have really severe cases, the ultimate cure of that is to actually transplant stool from a healthy person, right, into them to replenish good bacteria, to crowd out that bad C. diff, right? So that is another example of how we know that, the quality of the bacteria in your intestines determines health. And actually the example of that is that if you happen to take a fecal transplant from somebody who is overweight, then that recipient of the fecal transplant can actually start gaining weight, or vice versa. If it's stool transplanted from somebody who is normal size into an overweight person, then that overweight person can actually lose weight. And studies have been done showing this sort of thing, and from that we see the true impact on the importance of the makeup of the intestinal flora, or the bacterial makeup, right? So feed your gut with good food, fiber-rich food, right? And if you do take a probiotic, just remember that you might be spending money on all these probiotics, and if there's not good food or prebiotics for these probiotics to work on, then you're wasting your money, because the probiotics will get down into your intestines, find no food to eat, no food to survive on, and so they will die out. And you keep taking probiotics, but then there's no good food for the bacteria to survive on, and it's just a waste of money, right? So focus on quality food, right? Real food as opposed to processed food or fake foods, right? And you feed your gut and you feed yourself in the process, and overall that can result in improved health and well-being, right? And less reliance, just on like healthcare system and so on. So I hope you all found this helpful. And are there any questions? And somebody's asking, what about the biotics that heal the pendulum on the swing about the ozone layer? I am not sure I understand that question. I do not have an answer for that. Okay, some questions that are not let's see. Yes, but thank you for watching though. Thank you for joining me. I'm here in the hospital. I'm on call, and just taking a break. I'm gonna get ready to go up and see somebody who just had surgery. We're gonna just make some recommendations for post-surgical patients. Somebody, they just think it's funny, some of the things I said. Yes. Oh my goodness. Yeah. Yes. Thank you all for watching. And I don't know if you can replay these TikTok lives. And by the way, if anybody wanted to actually have a back and forth with me, apparently you can do back and forths as well. Somebody's saying they can't see. I don't know why they can't see, but anyway. Well, after this back and forth, thank you all for joining me. And as I said, the whole goal is really we want to do what we can, like, naturally, right? So that we can minimize external interventions, right? Because with every external intervention comes the potential for error, right? And so we want to keep control of, our health, right? And well-being as much as we can, right? So that we don't have to be at risk for errors and complications. All right. Well, I hope you all have a good evening. And once again, I'm Dr. Amina, and let me just tell you, and I help people break up with sugar and make up with health, right? I think sugar is the lowest hanging fruit, right? And I think once we start focusing on our sugar intake, right, to optimize our health by reducing our sugar intake, then we feel better, and we start looking at other areas in which we can make improvements in our health and our eating, okay? And so that's kind of what I do. If you peruse some of my posts, you'll see all I've spoken about sugar, and us just trying to minimize our added sugar intake, right, to achieve that better health and well-being. So you all have a good afternoon. Bye.